Hello, everyone at RGLtv. This is Rotorstorm331. Hope everyone's having a great day. Also, shout outs to my work for giving me the day off I needed to take part in this event, so I'm good to go. Anyway, today we're going to be doing a speedrun of Mercs, which is the official sequel of Commando from 1985. And this also focuses on the career of Super Joe, aka Joseph Gibson, along with his fellow colleagues at Mercs, Thomas Clark and Howard Powell, who we'll also be playing, but we'll only be able to play only one of the characters, unfortunately. Now, I do want to jam up some credits. This category is 80% on level 0, but there's going to be one big difference on this one. We're going to pick up all the POWs and all of the vitality increasers. There's one vitality increaser on each level except for the start and final stage of this game, and some missions will have 2 POWs. So timer won't start until I officially get control of my character, which is right after this cutscene, so I don't have a pedal to get started right away. Also, we're playing this on the Capcom Arcade Stadium, which regrettably only has the Japanese version, but I'll explain more about that in a minute. Let's get rolling. Alright, so even though this game does play like the English version, the Japanese version does have a few differences. Actually, Manicore 5 confirmed what I suspected. It's the fact that enemy bosses take more damage than normal, and enemies are actually more aggressive in the Japanese version as opposed to the English version. Also, even when you defeat a boss, if their attack goes off, they can still harm you, of course. And I still think that, for one thing, you don't really damage enemies until they start opening fire on you. I'm not going to have any time to check chat, but I will be keeping an eye on it. So anyway, we just finished Mission 1, which is landing on the enemy turf. The game's story is that we're trying to rescue the former President of the United States from a terrorist group on this fictional country. So we're going to be switching to the flamethrower. It's actually the second strongest weapon in the game. It kind of gets eclipsed by the missile launchers. Now, we do want to pick up the vitality increasers and the POWs, so we want to pick those up whenever we get a chance. Now, it is possible to despawn tanks in this game, if you're fast enough or whatever. I don't know what causes it, but we're able to blitz right through that tank without having to deal with it. So anyway, this is the second boss. All we have to do is just wait for it to come down and we can start firing on it. We'll unleash a Mega Crash right here. We will take advantage of the Mega Crashes, and we're going to use those to bypass, do some nifty damage, as well as get some brief invincibility. So anyway, that's the Siege Tank. This is only going to be like almost anywhere between 11 to 15 minutes overall, so it's going to be a very short run overall. Of course, the Japanese version does insert some interesting problems. So once we'll take advantage of that invincibility from the damage to get over here. We do have to watch out for that missile tank. Of course, this game does have Rink. I'm going to go ahead and detonate that so we don't have to deal with the platforms. We're going to keep the flamethrower up until stage 4. And once we do, we'll switch to the rocket launcher for the rest of the game. So I am going to try to reposition my character. There we go. Once we get our character position right there, we can destroy that without having to detonate a Mega Crash. Now, I am going to take an intentional death coming up before we fight the Scorpion, so we can have full stock of Mega Crashes again. There we go. Alright, so we're coming up to the Scorpion boss. I wouldn't be surprised if we have to continue on this one, because this does have a potential of getting a game over as well. Now, sometimes my attack button don't work, so And look at that, we just destroyed the Scorpion before it touched ground and released more soldiers. I'm starting to get way better at this one. Normally I do pretty poorly to the point I have to take a second continue. So thankfully we grabbed all of the POWs and Vitality Bar increasers on this one. So we're going on to the next one. We get our first POW coming up right here. Now if we want to turn around and hit every enemy with a flamethrower, we can use the left and right buttons for that. So I just turned the other way, and I was able to rotate the flamethrower. There's our Vitality Bar for the increase to this level. Unfortunately, we have to go through that obnoxious bog earlier on, so we're coming up to the waterways coming up. And we got some ski boats that fire some torpedoes, and those are pretty nasty. Not to mention they could do a lot of damage if you're not careful. But they do a lot of damage, though. Now, I don't want to pick up the spread gun there right next to that. That happened to me on my last practice, actually. So right now we get past this part, and we're on our way to fighting the battleship coming up. Now, once it gets starts firing, we'll be able to damage it, but we'll be start firing right now. Alright, we got that underneath the 505. That ain't bad. So anyway, the missile launcher is actually the strongest weapon in the entire game. It does have splash damage from the explosions. We'll be using that for the rest of the run. But the flamethrower is actually perfect against the Scorpion helicopter that we just fought in Mission 3. So we'll collect our Vitality Increaser in our first POW for this stage. And we're going to pretty much ignore just about everything here coming up. Of course, I don't mind taking damage as long as we avoid having to deal with the tanks. Now, this game is pretty interesting given the fact you have a Vitality Bar. Most shooters don't really have Vitality Bars. Kind of a big change for Capcom's shooters. Capcom's not really known for their shooters, but they do make some pretty interesting ones. But then again, that doesn't make them all that bad. They're pretty darn good. So anyway, we managed to get past that. Even if we didn't have the Jeep, we can just easily walk to the side and avoid those landmines. Now, I am going to be using regular fire rather than auto fire because we are doing a speed run. Now we're coming up to the very longest boss in the entire game, and that's the supply train. It does have 3 rocket turrets that we need to destroy before we can get further up. Because the boss fight doesn't actually start until we get to the engine. And of course, coming in contact with any of these means instant death. And of course, the rocket launcher doesn't have very fast rapid fire, of course. Alright, so we got through all 3 of those. Now we just got to get through the next part. We're going to save our Mega Crashes coming up for the actual boss fight. Now, it's going to do this first before we can actually harm it. In the Japanese version, unfortunately, the missiles, even if you do defeat the boss, they will still hurt you even afterwards. So we're going to use the missile launcher to counter those missiles. And there we go. Now it's very concerning. You have to protect yourself if they fire a final round by the time you get the last hit, because I've had to take another continue on those if these things take you out. Missiles and grenades do a lot of damage in this game. So anyway, we finally finished up the supply train. We're coming up to the pre-ultimate stage. We're entering the enemy base. We are going to take an intentional death coming up. So we're going to burn up all of our Mega Crashes right here and destroy that tank. And of course, given the fact they opened this stage up with 2 tanks right off the gate, is pretty much an indicator that we're pretty much coming up to the final areas. So this is actually our final area where we have to do any fighting, because the next stage will be our shooting down the Hercules transport. So these things were destroying fire-off energy turrets. So we want to destroy those before they get a chance to open fire on us. So anyway, we're going to wait for this thing to come down. We take our next continue. Reload on the crash bombs. And we're going to need those for coming up, actually. Anyway, this is the final POW and Vitality bar for the game, so we're going to pick those up. Now, Manticore 5, who currently holds the world record on the US world versions, can easily bypass how to use 2 mega crashes to avoid one of the beams, but it's very hard to do it on the Japanese version. But yeah, the enemies are pretty aggressive here. Of course, we do want to watch out for enemies coming right behind us. I'm not sure if we're going to get past that. Thank goodness we did. There are pilots on there that are willing to open fire on us. Hopefully we get a vitality increase with that first aid kit. Now, I've gotten good against this boss without having to resort to any mega crashes. This is pretty easy because we're coming up to the missile bay. It's going to fire about at least 3 rounds of heat-seeking missiles, and they're dependent on where your character's last standing. Hopefully we can defeat this boss before it goes for a 4th round. And there we go, 3 cycle. Whew! Alright, so we completed all 6 missions. Our final mission is to stop the Hercules transport trying to escape with the President. That is the main objective of the Mercs game, and that's to rescue the former President. And right now, the leader of that group of terrorists is trying to hightail it with them as a hostage. So we're gonna play a little game of this, and time's coming up when mission accomplished appears. Time. 11:10. My best for this training up to that point was 11:06. So that was not bad. Thank you for the GG. It was Lara SL, Johan88. Alright, so believe it or not, that was actually a small appetizer. The real chaotic fun begins once we get started with sidearms, Hyperdyne sidearms. Another obscured shooter by Capcom, made in the late 1980s. Also, thank you for the GG Schemax and Raging Mage Sage, Soulless 187. Alright. I see someone does love sidearms. That's good to hear. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and switch games. Let me get some water because I probably won't be able to drink after I get started. Thank you, Dumple-chan. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream right now and switch games. I'll be catching you all in a few minutes, hopefully. Hang tight and enjoy some more Shmuptember by RGLtv.